welcome to Gentle Yoga. I'm Ariele, and we will practice an all well-rounded, all levels, gentle roll on the floor, be happy kind of class today. So what I recommend is having your block within arm's reach on the side of your middle side of your yoga mat. Having your blanket within arm's reach on the middle side of your yoga mat. My favorite way to begin class, as always, on the back. So come onto your back. Let your knees bend and your feet wiggle to the very edges of your yoga mat. Allow your knees to drop in one on the other, and you can place your hands on your low belly for a moment and just allow your eyes to drift shut. Notice the inhale and the exhale. And another of my favorite things to do is to grab the blanket and place it over your abdomen. You can also have your hands over the blanket. The blanket, of course, would be in a folded shape. Knees resting one on the other. Just allow your eyelids to be heavy. And your mind to really anchor in to the breath. This beginning of our practice is both a chance to drop into the breath, as well as to center our mind, to meditate. Today we can do a little bit of a combo. Meditate on contentment and or happiness. A state of contentment is considered a little more sustainable than just general happiness. But the words may have different individual meanings to you. Some of the qualities that come with contentment and happiness are lightness. As you inhale, there's a sense of bright, shiny, oxygenated air coming into the belly. As you exhale, a remnant sense of lightness, contentedness. You can internally chant to yourself as you inhale, I am. And as you exhale, light. Inhale, I am. Exhale, happy. Inhale, I am. Light. Inhale, I am. Exhale, content, happy, at peace. If one of those phrases resonates with you, follow it in your mind for about 3 more breaths. Feels true to you, allow the corners of your lips to turn up in a little organic smile. We'll crack open the eyes, move the blanket off to the side, and then draw your knees towards your chest, but also away from one another, and start to rock a little side to side, noticing any difference on the right hip versus the left hip, the right side low back versus the left side low back. This shape, drawing the knees to the chest, is called Apanasana, so wind relieving shape. And it's one of the ones you can do if you eat too much in the holidays right before you go to sleep, so you don't have to feel indigestion before sleeping. And keeping the knees drawn in, rock a little side to side so you feel the massage on either side of your spine. And then let your knees drift apart from one another a little bit so that your knees are more in line with your armpits, your shoulders. And you can keep your hands here on the front of your shins. You can catch the hands right behind the thighs. Or if you feel warm enough, you can catch your ankles or outer feet for happy baby. So we're practicing an all levels, well-rounded, roll on the floor and be happy class. And happy baby is a crucial component of that. You can practice happy baby in a couple different ways. So if you really draw your knees in, like smush your thighs into your belly, into the sides of your ribs, your tailbone might lift up, and that will stretch out your low back a bit more. And if you really let your tailbone kind of be heavy and pelvis be heavy, and focus on keeping that down as you slowly drift your knees towards your chest, you'll get a bit more into your hips. So yogis get to choose your own adventure. And then reach your right leg straight out to the side and either hold on to some part of the pants leg or the foot or maybe the inner thigh and just activate, full breath in, exhale. And draw this knee right back to center, back to whatever happy baby version you had, and reach your left leg out to the side. So your legs look like a check mark. You can even support your leg from below. This is just about getting the synovial fluid warmed up in the hips. I am light. I am happy. Draw the knee right back into center and bring the soles of the feet together like you're clapping. And reach through, grabbing hold of the ankles. Again, rock a little side to side. If it would feel good to you, you can drift your heels a little closer to your chest. And one of the patterns you'll notice in this class and in my teaching is I love oscillations. I love these little micro movements of rocking side to side. Our nervous system also loves oscillations. It loves being in just a gently rocking place that really allows the muscles to relax. You can feel it on the back of your head too if you don't have a big bun like I have. And as you rock a little side to side, you can feel that gentle massage at the back of your skull. Let your left foot come down onto the floor, right ankle, cross over your left thigh. And then open your arms to the side and just waver your knees back and forth, eventually landing your foot and knee over on the left side. So it's a little bit like a twist, a slightly different place in your body, not so intense in your low back, a little more for the hips. And yeah, if you want, you can cross thigh over thigh if that feels good, and go down like this. This will get your outer hip a little more. This position, particularly if you have the left hand pressing into that thigh, will get you into a bit more external rotation. And then let's bring the chin to center. Draw the knees back to center and then in towards the chest a little bit. You can do this in a couple of different ways. If you want just the tiniest little micro ounce of core work, you can go hands-free and work on lifting your tailbone, rocking your pelvis back. Can you guys see that? Or of course you can just reach through. Usually the right arm would go through this gap between the legs, catch hold of the shin, and rock back like that. And if your knee doesn't bend all that much or in that way, catch behind the thigh. And a little more oscillation. And let's switch legs. So both feet to the floor. Just before we switch, Move your block out of the way for a moment. Let your knees drift over to the right. If your feet start really wide on the yoga mat, like at the edges of the yoga mat, this feels really nice so that your left knee is close to your right foot, like the arch of the right foot. And over to the other side. Keeping the feet nice and wide, getting that outer edge of the hip that not every yoga practice or pose gets to. And windshield wipe a few more times side to side at your own pace. As you're ready, come back to center. Press the left ankle over the right knee. And option A, you can draw the knees in towards the chest. Work on just this little interesting, curious tilt of the pelvis. Make sure your neck stays relaxed, your face, your jaw stay relaxed. So a little bit of rocking back and forth. And of course, if you wish, reach your left hand in the space between the legs and catch either behind the right thigh or at the right shin. Keep your toes kind of active here. And rock a little side to side. Get that oscillation of this stretch. Keeping the ankle right over the knee. Open your arms again and drop the foot over to the right side. So you can stay here. You can gently push the knee away with your right hand. Or you can even go deeper by crossing thigh over thigh and dropping the knees entirely. So yogi's choice, whatever feels good. I'm going to stick with this one with just the most gentle press away. Inhale, back to center. Set your feet down to the floor, grab hold of your block, set it back to the sides, and drive the hips to the ceiling, and then lower down like you're lowering a fancy necklace that you don't want to pay for. And then rock the pelvis back, flattening the back, lifting vertebra by vertebra. This takes a little while, so you can go quite slowly. And then lower down. Figure out if you can feel every ounce of your spine as it touches down. Last one, these are low bridges. You can see I'm not going into crazy back bend here, getting a lot of weight above my shoulder blades and zero weight in my neck. And you'll take the block in a low position and place it right under the pelvis. This right here is the most gentle amazeballs inversion in the universe. It's just so simple and so sweet. So you can really just let the blood kind of flow back towards your brain. You can practice this at the end of a long day as a restorative, as a gentle pause to help cool the body before sleep. And you can also use this block under the pelvis to open up the front of the hips from the way we typically spend most of our days. And the way you do that is to draw your right knee in, so half Apanasana, Ardha Apanasana. Straighten your left leg out. The block, of course, especially with you, engage the muscles of the left leg a little bit and make sure that the low back doesn't overarch, just kind of pull up the front hip points. A big opening on the front of the left hip. It's possible that someone is not feeling an opening there and would like to feel an opening. And if that's the case, notice if your foot drifted out to the side, and if so, bring it back to the midline. Notice if your toes turned out. This is external rotation of the hips, and if so, focus on internal rotation of the hips, the inner seam down. And then notice also if your knee bends. So those three things will usually get a bit more sensation for everybody. If you need to, you can put your right foot down, left foot, bridge it up to the next level, and then go for it. The higher you go with a block, the more likely it is to move the sensation and the opening into the low back as opposed into the front of the hip. So just be careful that the pelvis is not rocking forward. Use your hand on the right knee and the muscles of your belly to kind of engage and pull it up. I don't know about you guys, but I could stay here for a very long time. So just take a few breaths and let those breaths encompass eternity. So they are symbolic of a whole lifetime. Keep engaging this leg, pressing out, pressing out, pressing out, pressing out. Inhale, I am. Exhale, light. Draw this knee right back in, setting your foot flat, right foot flat, and over to the other side. I'm going to take my block back down to the low level. At least this is a nice way to start if you're not sure about the other side. And slowly draw your left knee in towards your chest. Right leg straightens out at your own pace. Notice if it drifts to the side. Notice if your toes turn out, external rotation. And notice if your knee bends. So if you have any of those three qualities going on, we hug to the midline, we internally rotate, so inseam down, and press through the big toe ball mound, so you're straightening that leg while scooping the belly, keeping the low back broad. Spend about 4 more breaths here. Inhaling, I am. Exhaling, happy. Inhale, I am. Exhale, present. Inhaling, I am. Exhale, soft. Inhaling, I am. Exhale, grateful. And draw the right knee to a bend, set the left foot down. Load the hips up. Lower the spine down, really nice and soft. And then option A, bring the soles of the feet together, open out into Baddha Konasana, this knees open to the side, diamond shape of the legs. Option B, you can do the diamond shape here with the soles of the feet touching and your hands on the ankles, like we did earlier. And I think that's it. Let's just do those 2 options. Eventually, draw the knees back to your chest and rock onto your side and press up to hands and knees. So this is a great place to use your blanket again if you'd like to use it. We're going to go into some twists. So inhale and reach your right arm to the sky, push your left arm down so you get this nice reach. And exhale, dive down either onto your elbow, or blanket is optional here from your head as well, or block, dive onto your shoulder. So when you come into this shape, the hand that's in front of your face, which is your left hand here, is going to give you a little bit of press, right? A little bit of extra oomph. But you don't want to go so far that your whole body kind of distorts and that hip juts out. So try to keep it just really gentle, stacking shoulder over shoulder. Aim to keep a sense of even weight through both of your knees, both of your legs. There's a nice little challenge that you can do inside this shape. Balance challenge. It's good for engaging the hip stabilizers. Straighten the left leg back behind you. I would keep both hands firmly rooted to the floor and maybe lift that leg up to the sky. And lower down, first the toes and the knee, and then slowly unravel right back to neutral table pose. Push through the right arm, reach the left arm high, and dive it under. Coming onto the forearm, or maybe onto the side of the shoulder. And again, use your hand that's in front of your face to gently turn it up a notch. So you're in control. The idea is that you really just want to stack shoulder over shoulder. Most of the rotation in the spine should come from the rib cage. Of course, the neck as well is very rotating, but that rib cage is going to rotate a lot more than the lumbar spine. And the muscles that will help it to rotate are usually attached, many of them are attached to the shoulder blades. Unravel. Press through the hands. Oops. Let's do the leg thing on this side too. So come back into the shape and then practice first just straightening your right leg back behind you. Toes tuck on the ground. And then see if it is reasonable to lift it up and fly it high to the sky. If you feel a little shaking, that's a good thing because that's a waking up of the tiny stabilizing muscles in a really safe way. Exhale, lower it down. Draw the knee back down and press up to neutral. Knees go wide. Curl all of your toes under. And then sit back on your heels. So we're gonna do child's pose. Try to keep myself decent here. We're gonna do child's pose. But with the knees really wide, again, you'll get more of the hip opening and a nice neutral spine. With the toes curled under, you'll also feel a really sweet opening through the soles of your feet. And this is important because we spend so much time in shoes. We lose a lot of mobility and strength in our feet. Yoga is an incredible opportunity to just spend some time being barefoot, being aware of how we distribute weight. Send one more breath into the back body and the side body here. Inhale, rise back up, finding neutral. A few rounds of cat and cow. Inhale, belly down. Exhale, round up towards the sky. Inhale, belly down, shoulder blades back. And exhale, round. Inhale, belly down, shoulder blades back. Exhale, round. One more time. Inhale, belly down. Pull the shoulder blades to the back of your body as your heart goes forward. And then push them away so that you really feel like you're pushing the floor away. Find neutral. Sit back. Toes still curled under. And then rise up into a gentle, tiny downward facing dog. So not the biggest down dog you've ever been in. But bend one knee and then the other. Just let one heel sink down to the floor. And then the other. Back to the earth, knees to the ground. And reach your left leg back behind you. Pull your belly in gently so your spine stays neutral, and lift your back leg up. Come into your right fingertips. And if this is easy, you can walk your fingertips forward and reach your right arm. reach your left leg all the way across the right side and push back into that heel again. You can also bring your right ear, towards your right hip. Just kind of pushing to get into a little bit of a side bend here, and that can feel really nice on the waist, on the outer hip. Inhale, neutral. Set your left knee right back down, reach your right legs first straight up behind you, plank-like quality in that leg, and then float it up to hip height. If you keep this gentle tone in your belly, you're much more likely to use the muscles around the hip as opposed to the tiny muscles around the low back. So if I lift from the low back, it looks like this, like a back bend. If I scoop the belly and lift from the hips, my glutes get active. And this is also going to help you to undo some of the doing of sitting that occurs in our daily lives. Come into your left fingertips. And if this is easy, wiggle your fingertips out and maybe float the arm off the floor. Just breathe, stay focused and steady for a few breaths. Still drawing in from the core of your belly, reaching long through ball mound or the heel of your right foot out through the fingertips of the left foot. We'll take the hand right back down. Reach the right foot off the left side of your yoga mat. And then just let your hips shift a little right as your left ear moves a little closer to the left hand. Inhale, neutral. And before we come out of it, wiggle your left foot over to the right side of your yoga mat, so that when you come back, your knees are tucked, one behind the other. Right knee tucks behind the left. This is very much like a lady sit if you're wearing a pencil skirt. And you're gonna push the hips back and forth, push the hips back and forth. It might even feel good to go all the way back. Maybe even to sit between your heels here. This is known as Gomukhasana shape. But what I find in my own body is that usually there's an angle, let's say 30 degrees from the floor, but it could be anywhere, that feels quite therapeutic to one of the hips. And I kind of stay in that angle, I oscillate. If you find that yourself as well, hang out there. If you enjoy going into the deepest depths of the pose, then of course hang out here. We're looking for activation in the feet and length in the spine. So not no turtle shapes, just lots of length, lots of heart reaching. Good forward again. You also have your block, I forgot to mention, under your bum here if it doesn't come all the way to the ground. So taking it forward somehow, some way, unravel, shake out your hips a little bit. And then bring your right knee to the midline of the body. Wiggle both your feet off the left side of your yoga mat so that your left knee can tuck back. Again, lots of space between your feet. Feet are active in the floor. Yep, and so we'll start again from table. You're gonna just bring both your feet over to the left side, and then tuck your left knee behind the right. Yeah, exactly, and then separate your feet. And now your hips go back. And find that great angle wherever you are. Feel free to use your block, any of its positions. If you have it in the tallest position, you can angle it so that the corner doesn't go into your bum. Just push the floor away. Or of course you can oscillate. And of course you can sit all the way back so long as you keep length in your spine. Chop the outer edges of the feet into the floor. Little wiggles are welcome. And then inhale to center and shift back, unravel the legs. Curl your toes under, from table pose, sit back. Make sure your pinky toes are curled under. I know not everybody's toes are angled in the same way, but try to get your pinky toes curled under. Your heels might move apart from one another a little bit. And then again, rise up into like a short down dog. So one heel sinks to the floor, full breath in, other knees deeply bent, and then switch sides. Use your breath here. And then lower your knees right back down to the ground. Grab hold of your blocks. Set your blocks up at the front of your mat. Put the heels of your hands on the blocks. Still in this toes curled under position. And rise up and back. Try now, short down dog. Maybe your heels are a little closer to the floor. Try lifting your toes up off the floor. Not the heels, but the toes. So that you activate the muscles at the front of the body, the anterior tibialis and the toe extensors. And then push your thighs back. And the only exception to pushing the thighs back and activating the quads might be if you really hyperextend in your knees. So if you hyperextend in the knees, then you don't have to do that one as much. You can keep a little bend here. But for everybody else, press the thighs back, lift the toes up, sink the heels down, hips high to the sky. Right. And then shift forward and lower down to your knees. Keep your arms up on these blocks, but you can wiggle the blocks forward a little more. And get a bit of heart opening here by just dropping the chest down. Maybe sinking the head a little closer to the floor without any forcing. Maybe resting down. And then look forward and set the blocks off your yoga mat. Onto your belly. First onto your forearms. And just bend your knees again. Same thing here, we're going to take our feet side to side, just like we took our knees side to side earlier. But in this case, I want you to really keep your pelvis as rooted as possible on the floor. So if you kind of twist in your spine, this will be coming from the spine rather than from the hips. Try to let as much as possible the hips stay rooted. We're going to move up, the pelvis is going to move a little bit side to side. But mostly you want to keep it down. Notice if one side is more restricted in movement than the other. Linger into that restriction. And then come all the way back to neutral. Rest your forehead on the back of your hands. And simply lift your left leg. Left foot thigh lift up and over and reach, maybe even tapping the floor on the right side of your yoga mat. And then lift up back to center. And right knee bends. Float the thigh up. Keep reaching so much that pelvis really lifts up. There's an option to float the foot in the sky, maybe tap the foot behind you. And back to center, and one more time each side. Reach your arms out in front of you, both legs straight out behind you. And then dive one arm under the other and come onto your back. Glue yourself onto your back. Grab hold of your back. And place it around the ball mound of the right foot. You don't need to have a loop in it, but if you have one, you can use it. And just get a nice little hamstring stretch for 3 breaths. If you have the strap around the ball mound of the foot, which is the base of the toes, That's going to be a little more effective to getting the whole posterior chain as opposed to the arch of the foot, where you're not going to get as much of a stretch along the calf. You can have your left knee bent or straight. And then draw the foot a little bit across the body. Draw the foot and the leg across the body so you feel this outer hip stretch. And for about 3 breaths, you can oscillate here by bending and straightening your knee. And then open out to the other side. Get a nice hasta padangustasana beat. So bending and straightening for the inner thigh stretch here. And if you prefer, you can use the strap to come into half happy baby. So yogi's choice, straight leg or knee bend. We'll come back to center. Scoop the left foot into the strap. Enjoy a nice straight leg stretch. Right leg comes down and reaches out when you're ready. And then take the leg across your body. It's best when you switch the strap, both ends of the strap into your right hand here. You can use your left hand to kind of anchor your hip, feeling any mobility restrictions in the outside of the left hip. And inhale, slowly back to center, and then drift it out over to the left. Left hand is entirely on the strap. You can park your left elbow on the ground if that works for you. You can hold the strap also with your right hand as a reinforcement. And I recommend actually pushing into the strap like you're gas pedaling a little bit here, bending and straightening your knee as much as you want. Know that you also have the option to do half happy baby pose today if that would make you happier. Keep holding it and breathing for a few more rounds of breath. Draw the knees back to center, release the straps. Draw your knees to your chest. Give yourself a big hug. If you'd like your bolster under your knees for Shavasana, you can grab that now. If you'd like your blanket under your body, over your body, you can grab that as well. Our task in Shavasana is to keep the mind as present as possible. Part of the way we do that is allowing the body to feel supported. So if you need to, you can adjust the blanket or the bolster to get your mind fully present and not distracted by any kind of discomfort. So I've even angled my bolster become aware of the support of the ground beneath you. Become aware of the state of relaxation in the muscles between the eyebrows, the jaw, and the muscles of the tongue. Allow your bones to be heavy in the earth. breath to be natural and normal. One of the greatest things about the breath is that it just continues. It breathes you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to control it. Breath is your great life force, your prana. If you find your mind getting distracted, you can internalize these phrases again. I am present. Inhale, I am. Exhale, soft. Inhale, I am. Exhale, light. I am happy. Wandered, anchor it back into the breath. And start to take little wiggles of your fingers and of your toes. Stretching long through your limbs if that would feel good. Slowly draw your knees back into your chest. You can do all of this under the blanket. Rock a little side to side, and then rock onto your right side traditionally, or your left side if your right nostril is congested. And then slowly press up to a comfortable seat, keeping your eyes closed. Press our palms together with the heart. Noticing the energy shift in our mind, body, and spirit from this simple practice. Vow to carry with you any of the qualities you cultivated on the yoga mat, off the yoga mat. It's a great honor to teach